It's happened again! That is, today we quickly check in with Veibae, the newly independent VTuber, who last week after her re-debut, we, along with herself, were wondering if she would be banned. And sure enough, just before the recording of this episode, yes, it happened. As here we have the telltale Twitch.tv. The channel is temporarily unavailable due to violation of Twitch's community guidelines or terms of service page. No response yet from Vei on Twitter. We will keep up to date if we receive anything like that from her. As next we move on to our main story. Once again, it is Bao, Jiggly Whale Girl, VTuber and V-Singer, who last Wednesday revealed that she had lost all of her subathon money, now seeking a refund amount to the total of over 34,000 US dollars. 2 days later on stream, we also had illustrator and Twitch partner Saruei, who at that time revealed that she was waiting to be refunded 13,000 US dollars. This being back on May 26th, having been given the promise that she would be refunded that day, and now 1 weekend later, that has still not occurred. And here now we have Bao updating us yesterday, saying 10 plus stuck bank transfers later, I've received nothing. You promised you'd pay me back and that you weren't stringing me along. You kicked my staff out of all of our group chats anytime we tried to negotiate with you. You blocked my lawyer. Where is our money? James Studio Cell. That being this Twitter account, which within 4 minutes of Bao's tweet no longer existed on twitter.com. That said, here at TVS we did have time to back up all of the tweets from this particular account as it belonged to this individual, James Wicks, shown off here in his illustrated form, who last summer was name-dropping K-San, earlier trying to get the attention of Demon Dice, back in January, even responding to me, and further back in September, tweeting directly at Bao and saying, legit, hit me up when you get a moment. I am extremely sorry you are going through that type of hell. Bao confirming, yes, that account was active right before she made her tweet, saying he definitely has me on notifications. That all while one of his alternate Twitter accounts, Studio Cell, is still active. We'll get to that in a moment. Bao would go on to tweet, James Wick of Studio Cell will most likely come back and be under different aliases. He scammed people for much larger amounts than me. Again, Bao is claiming that this individual has scammed people out of more amounts, even larger than 34,000 USD, and has never shown remorse. VTubers, be vigilant. People see how lucrative and naive you are and will take advantage of it. Trust your gut. Bao continuing on, he has also tried to be a VTuber, so please be careful. That's right, there was another alternate Twitter account. This particular account being up for a few hours longer, and that's right, we had a pre-debut VTuber, self-described as having a professional dad bod. Now continuing on, he deleted all his DMs with everyone involved and explaining more how he got me, and that James Wick was employed under legitimate animation company at the time, showed me legitimate work with corporate VTuber companies. When I first inquired, he was working with trusted friends and colleagues on projects and had a portfolio that was backed up by trusted friends and colleagues. This whale VTuber saying, if you want to know how to help, just continue to support your favorite streamers the way you always have. That means watching them, sharing their content, streaming their music, buying their merch, being understanding of sponsorships. All these little things add up over time. And when being asked if he was actually still affiliated with this animation studio, Bao clarified when she first spoke with him, yes, but now, no. That studio being Saruei Animation, who has yet to make any official statement here on Twitter, but is very much a legitimate animation company, having worked on not just VTuber projects, but also loads of anime projects, even high-profile film projects, and also working with VTuber agencies like Hololive English, or the Galgura Sharked video, and Nijisanji English, working on the Renzoto Wanderer video. And so now many are asking, just how were Tonari and James Wick connected? Well, as we here at TVS have come to understand, the hiring of James Wicks was done as a favor. This particular individual being already in debt debt in the amount of tens of thousands of dollars, or so they had claimed, also claiming to be suffering from a major illness that could potentially be life-threatening. As time would go along, Tonari would find that this particular individual was embezzling, having purchased a company vehicle for one amount, but then the company finding out that the company vehicle was purchased for a much lower amount. Tonari would also find out that official Tonari email accounts were used to set up multiple secret companies, while Tonari themselves were convinced to spend thousands of dollars on marketing with then very little to show for it. Financial damages to Tonari could actually reach up into the 6 digits, and totaling up all the potential damages with not just VTubers but also organizations that are still going unnamed, we are potentially looking at over $250,000 in embezzlement, fraud, and more. This particular house of cards started to crumble last year as animators with Tonari were asking for payment on the Saruei video, this being a project unknown to, well, Tonari Animation. Lots of back and forth then occurred, and then finally leading to the firing of James Wicks, who would continue on with numerous animation projects under the Studio Cell moniker. And we have so much more, returning back to Captain Hannah, saying firstly, "We're all waiting, James," and explaining further, "Back in March, I worked with quote-unquote Studio Cell for my lore video. I was promised a 1.5-minute video for this amount. I pulled out of the project after I heard from the other ladies that he's not who he said he was. He's a compulsive liar, a thief, and a spineless, despicable worm. As you see in these photos, he tries to buy his time until PayPal cannot protect me anymore. But I wasn't letting that happen. The only reason I got my refund back was I was lucky enough to be warned by everyone that there was no lore video going to be delivered to me. I let him know his time was up and my patience had been consumed, and so I was still in the time frame of PayPal to start a dispute. You deleted your DMs, but I still have them. So I ask you as well, James, where's their money?" Captain Hannah showing off these thousands of dollars of transactions, along with Wicks' Discord profile, saying, "I would tag you, but you seem to have deleted your Twitter. Oopsie. I was under the impression the whole time he was a reputable source since he was recommended through trustworthy friends, and I should have done my due diligence. Be careful, snakes are in the grass." Further along, we have General Geega teasing us with this soon and sharing, "Gets fired from animation studio, starts a new one, and tells clients he's still with the old one to bait them, overpromises on quality and deadlines, leaks other projects and non-disclosure agreements info to everyone, doesn't pay animators, animators dip, pretends the projects are still happening, is broke. I was getting the feeling he wasn't going to deliver at the beginning of this year, decided just to wait it out and see. I kept aware of my PayPal chargeback deadline the whole time and put the request in when it became obvious what was going on. We've also made sure that anyone whose info or projects that were leaked have been informed along with whoever's representing them. We'd also like to note that he didn't have any of us sign non-disclosure agreements or contracts with him. Big mistake. And for the record, he did tell me when he was fired from his old studio. He thought we were chill enough with each other, so he proceeded to trash talk his old co-workers and company, so I'd be super happy moving to his new group of ragtag contractors that he wasn't paying. Woohoo! Bao responding here, "It's insane how deep it goes when we dug deeper. I'm insanely proud of us for not falling for his empty threats and doing what dozens and dozens of people were too afraid to do. He's gotten away with this for far too long without consequences." Next up, we have the Dragon VTuber Vienna. Giving some background, James Wicks? JW is someone who was employed by a legitimate animation studio and had worked to complete legitimate projects before, both under Tonari and Studio Cell, his new project. Studio Cell unfortunately went under due to many of his employees not being paid on time or at all. My project was canceled due to everyone leaving the studio. With all this going on, he still tried to convince others he could take more work and continue to gather more animators and more clients, making many pay up front. This is how everyone got here. I will let the other girls tell their side and explain more, but what he did was not right at all. The girls are asking for the refunds not due to an issue of quality of work, but that it was physically impossible. His studio fell apart. No one was getting paid. He won't refund people for projects that had not even started. Where did the money go? People think that he is an animator from our tweets. He is not. He's the one managing teams of animators and coordinating production. Geega replying to Vienna, "How am I supposed to expect my project to be done when all my animators have left my project project and are working with other people now. Refunding while things are in this state is logical. And here we are again with Illustrator and Twitch partner Saruei. Tweeting for some reasons in voice chat, he wanted me to pay more when he still held a good amount of money of what I already provided him. I'm glad I refused. Saruei would continue on. I paid approximately 23,000 USD for my 2.0 lore video, while he, on the other hand, only allocated 10,000 USD to the team from the provided funds. The incompetence and lack of professionalism displayed by this person resulted in the rest of the team not receiving their payments. Despite this setback, I took it upon myself to ensure everyone else was paid promptly, as the animators and artists couldn't afford to wait to cover their expenses. At present, I'm waiting for the return of my $13,000 with hopes of receiving it by this Wednesday. This already being after Saruei was promised it the Friday prior. This VTuber showing the receipts here, transacting to Studio Cell and JW Designs alongside some initial work. Alongside all this, we also have the cooking VTuber Giri, who in late January collabed directly with Studio Cell, and being slightly more fortunate in that she actually has a finished project to show off. Yesterday tweeting, just finished stream and I'm too tired to write out a whole spiel. Too long didn't read, my lore video's deadline was delayed to oblivion. Still missing assets, and overall experience was excruciatingly awful. Bao then tweeting out, is it really that stupid to dream about having music videos like Shelter? While Sin shared, coward, I sat in a group call with this dude while he bragged about how much better his lore videos are than anyone else's and broke so many non-disclosure agreements just to flex. Sue him immediately. We're also back with the friendly neighborhood burb Auteru, sharing he got fired from an anime studio and started his own new one, leaked videos and projects and insider info that are NDA left and right to us, broken promises about guesting at cons, making merch, I could go on and on. He also nuked all group chats we had with him. Why did we trust him? He's good with words, like really good. He was working with a really good animation studio when we all met him. He worked with friends we trust and showed us animation work that was good, and again, really good with words. Adding, I still can't believe he blocked Bao's lawyer, kicked her team from a group, and has promised her a refund on her money but never delivered. Then just up and deleted his Twitter when he was called out. James, this isn't how it works. And here now we have an animator and producer working with Saruei Animation. It's Bellamy Brooks replying to Auteru and saying, I can confirm this. He broke non-disclosure agreement contracts, and after he was fired, he had spies in our system. We had a secret project information leaked out and had to lock down everything and interview people to figure it out. It's been a very scary few months. Bellamy continuing on, as someone who worked closely with him, everything Bao said is true. He used our network to solicit these scams and took advantage of everyone involved. I wish I saw the sign sooner. Very, very quickly, we have Bell adding, I genuinely hope anyone in the VTubing space affected by James can get their money back. I had the misfortune of having to deal with him as a convention planner for a local con that never saw past year one due to issues he was never clear on. I left being an AA director. Adding to that, we have Liger saying, oh, he's been working at getting a con off the ground in Louisiana since 2019. First year was a shiz show, mostly not his fault actually, but last year didn't happen because he never delegated getting the site and other stuff up in time. These users then confirming a number of conventions that were attended by James Wicks. So once again, we have his main Twitter account currently not active, which is the same story as his pre-debut VTuber account, but that Studio Cell account is still active. And at 3:22 a.m. Eastern Time, tweeted out, there will be two parts to this statement, tonight and tomorrow, to address every statement I've seen come out of this mess. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a 35-page Google document entitled The Response. Not a response, the response. Self-identifying here as coming from James Wicks. Let's go ahead and dive in. It begins, I did delete my Twitter handle when the dog piling was en route. JW then tries to explain the state of the industry here, saying when you retain an animator artist, typically a deposit is paid paid to ensure they do not take on extra work and for a time period to ensure they have money up front. Most Japanese productions do not do this or refrain from this method, but this was something requested regularly. Then talking about Studio Cell, saying Studio Cell started as a passion project back in July of 2022. All right, July of 2022. Well, that's an interesting date to us here, as TVS has been made clear that James Wicks was employed with Tonari from the fall of 2021 until December of 2022. So by this admission right here, Studio Cell was started up nearly a half year before he was fired from the other animation studio he was working for. This document continues, I joined Tonari after selling my printing company, and TVS was also made aware this was around the time that James Wicks was claiming that he was in debt for tens of thousands of dollars, and thus was seeking employment and was given to it by Tonari. JW says here he would come on as the chief marketing officer, also name dropping the CEO of Tonari Animation and saying, I have our differences and we have had our discussions about the falling out that occurred, and that wound should remain sealed unless otherwise opened. Well, that certainly doesn't read like a threat at all. Studio Cell had a large opening investment that allowed early on to try to aim for higher wages and big pushes into projects to really pump our name out there. Starting up is not easy, and I did drop the ball with maintaining a payment system that works successfully, and currently there is a legal filing for the breaks and non-disclosure agreements that led into the current situation. In total, we spent over $70,000 on artist, music, etc. early on. Again, not exactly clear if any of that $70,000 was actually used to pay these animators that were employed at Studio Cell. As here at TVS, we had been informed that prior animators with Studio Cell have an open legal filing against this individual. That's right, there are legal proceedings underway. The document then continues on with this other entity, Connect VT, also talking about SawaCon, which again is that convention that was attempted to be opened in Louisiana. But now let's just go ahead and dive into what the document is talking about regarding Studio Cell, stating it was started in October of 2022, officially on the books. This again still being 2 months before he was fired from Tonari Animation. JW name dropping that he had prior military service, and then also releasing names here, saying we took 3 initial clients, Onigiri, Nemu, and Girl DM. Now before this very moment, Girl DM was not outspoken on this whatsoever. The document continues on, firstly with the Onigiri project, saying we wanted it to be great, so we pushed a massive amount of money to make sure something solid was delivered. JW saying, a critical mistake on my part. I did drop the ball. I will not lie, there are many things that started too late and were not put in the right order of production that caused a lot of headaches for a lot of people, including most importantly Giri herself. The final product that was delivered for the animation was not good, with scenes needing complete reworks that one animator alone took on fixing most of them and hiring out other animators to correct and fix them due to internal disputes. My communication on the delivery date was clearly shiz, with the expected delivery by Giri by end of February 2023 and the final delivery being March of 2023 with even more corrections needed. It took until May of 2023 to deliver an acceptable final piece, including and scrapping all current sound design and music. Nemu was the secondary project that we began also in October, focused on debuting a new outfit and telling some backstory. I hired out and paid several board artists and animators to begin this project, but we did not meet the deadline, and I reached out to Nemu to extend the deadline with an expansion budget on our behalf to compensate for the late run and give more lore to the initial plot, the deadline being for spring, that being May, and a new director being brought on to help push it forward with a complete storyboard rework. And now we have that third project with Girl DM, which also began in October. The document saying that this ran congruently with the production of Onigiri, being a smaller project to revamp notifications, backgrounds, and more. That deadline set in-house was to end in 2022, as we had not had an in-stone deadline set due to it being a general rework and no finalized period. Well, I mean, it sounds like the finalized period was actually at the end of 2022, but okay. And it goes on, as here now we have the quote-unquote Studio Cell associated projects, confirming the Saruei project began in November, claiming there was a very rushed deadline for this one, stating, though the studio could not support a direct project, we outsourced and brought in animators that were third party to assist and direct the project. To no fault of her own, Saruei had conflicts with the director of the piece after storyboards were extremely delayed and created so much frustration that a verbal argument broke out. out. We continued on, and Saruei suffered through a lot of headaches with her production, artists not meeting expectations, and direction not being listened to, and artists not being able to fit within the scheduled timeline for hire. She herself became the art director and director of the project to ensure that the quality was being maintained. This included a personal investment offer of $8,000 to make sure to meet the expectation on behalf of the team involved. We began payouts of her project in early March of 2023. And next up, we have some explanations about the Geega, Vienna, and Captain Hana projects, throwing out a lot of numbers and a lot of dates. No claims here of any refunds or problems with refunds. And it gets broken out even further, as here we have the Connect VT projects, which includes the Bao group music video and personal music video with a cap total of 40,000 USD. This document saying there was a principal deposit due to an error of $15,000, that though the original deposit amount of $7,500 was accidentally double paid, return failed, and the difference rolled over into credit for the project. This part being very unclear as to what it actually means, and very unclear if this is in any way intending to be resolved. The document goes further into this project for Bao beginning in December, saying it was a rush to lock in artists, and also saying none of the contractors from Studio Cell were approached or given agreements, as at the time it was being run through Connect VT. I began a manhunt to build a team that would be available to work on the project once, and we had everything we needed. I communicated clearly with Bao that we needed lyrics to move anything forward. That then begins a number of screenshots and this Google document of these apparent Discord conversations. Some of these screenshots apparently revealing a VTuber group that has not yet been revealed yet. And here we just have more conversations that don't strike anyone as particularly relevant, but they are provided, claiming that just before the end of the year on December 29th, they were given a general direction and focus for the video. That same day, discussions began on the styles and approaches. James Wicks was then put in contact with Bao's accountant, as here Bao can be seen saying, "I trust you." The document then moves forward to February, speaking about missed meetings due to scheduling conflicts, and also claiming radio silence, saying for nearly 4 weeks from the prior communication, I attempted to touch base as often as possible to ensure the project moved forward. Reminder here, we still have a staff built and retained waiting for this project to go forward. Then we learn on March 8th, the project changes gears and anything worked on is scrapped. And here we do have a reveal of an unreleased song provided right here in the screenshots. As also, James is saying, in response to Bao asking, it's not too late to change gears. James would say, nothing that can't be changed. Seriously, like we can scrap pretty much anything in wireframes at the moment and it won't kill anyone. So at this time, James is saying, nothing can't be changed. The document then would reveal even more about this group that up until the release of this document had in no way been confirmed. And then after a bunch of logistical screenshots, it continues on. This was the final communication before disaster struck on March 17th of 2023. I had been at war with the Giri production team from Studio Cell. Wait, hold on. Isn't that your studio? And broken NDAs that caused massive client distrust with the Giri project, and a he said, she said wars that broke out due to company issues for Studio Cell and related projects. The Bao production server was empty, my communication blocked, and that did me in. Studio Cell had fallen apart. A lot of money was spent over the Onigiri production period that did not meet the expectations of the client and was not a showpiece for the studio in the state it was. Previous members of my studio reached out to clients expressing they had not been paid, which is untrue, or so this document claims, violating NDAs and breaching agreements between them and the studio, which is currently in legal dispute. With a disease I am currently fighting, the business collapsing, and the failures of my own not delivering a stable product, clients now being told that animators weren't paid outside of Studio Cell projects and stuff from my history, I attempted, oh now there's an S word we're not going to say out loud, the early morning of March 18th. This was extremely stupid and not fair to anyone or anything. It was a mental health disaster. When I was released on March 22nd under supervision and released the 24th completely, I then began communicating and working with customers in that time frame to ensure funds were returned appropriately and on time, while making sure current payments that were issued were not halted for work completed. To say there was negotiating is not true. I was ambushed by legal representation and an accountant I had been directly communicating with for Bao. I did not get her funds back to her appropriately within the first week of being out of the hospital. There is no excuse for that. But in the following weeks, I maintained maintained a constant communication directly with Bao, gave access to my account to my legal representation. Wait, but where are the refunds? Where are the refunds here? As of May 23rd, we've had zero contact outside of legal terms. Currently, I've turned over everything to the lawyer, including all attempted transactions, old wired, discussions, and more. It had taken an extremely long time to sort anything out, and yes, that is not great. Yeah, not great. But I remained in constant communication with Bao and maintained a full discussion with her at all times, including direct phone communication. Any invoices or information pertaining to this dispute I will not share publicly until further advised. So in regards to this section, no actual reason given as to why the funds have not been refunded. Then we have the Saruei lore project, saying Saruei's project was a living nightmare from beginning to end. Deadlines crushed and outside help hired by me directly without impacting her. There were conflicts between us, conflicts between artists, directors, and much more on schedule, and finding people that had the time frame to work with artists repeatedly got cycled in and out of the project. She did not pay $23,000. Oh? She was quoted $16,000 to $20,000, and I backed her project at the time with an additional fund of $8,000 to increase it to $28,000 as of the issues that occurred with the director and changes with animators. So this document is stating that it fronted $8,000 to move the project along. James Wicks says further, at the time of my removal on the project on March 23rd, I began the process of ensuring that my exit was as clean as could be. Any outstanding funds were in the process of being returned, and I had to clear multiple problems, and on May 26, 2023, we were able to resolve it with information after legal from my end and account settlement sent directly to Saruei. Before I entered the hospital on March 18th, we had begun payouts for her productions and began checks on all cuts directly with the animators and prices agreed as the production was messy. So here apparently we do have transactions from Saruei and then some spreadsheet tables that really mean nothing at all. Continuing on, at the time of my medical situation, this was where we were at the beginning of the project's payouts. An agreed amount has been processed successfully. Statements made between both parties will be posted in part 2 as it's a lot as well. What in the world is happening here? Again, not exactly clear if he's actually stating that refunds were posted or not. Also in March, Vienna and I spoke on March 17, 2023. I reached out to Vienna having heard that projects were now being impacted as a direct result of the Studio Cell incident. James saying, I would be happy to return your funds until everything is settled. Vienna replying, hey, from what I know, everyone involved has exited my project. Based on that information, I don't think we will be meeting the deadline. So the only course forward I see is a refund. I would like to see that process as soon as possible. I don't really care about sides. I genuinely am devastated this has happened and I need to focus on my other projects. Continuing on, if you'd like to help, you can send me the files and the refund minus the price you paid for the files. Otherwise, just refund. James here sending some files and saying both refunds have been clicked and sorry that stuff made you lose confidence in me and the studio. Going further, we have the Captain Hannah project. It just never ends. Saying due to the project's age, there were no art files to turn over. Both refunds were processed within the same time frame, with one delayed a few days after my hospital release. On me, not her. All funds to date have been returned. Again, this document not clarifying anything about the PayPal dispute that was filed by Hannah. The document is beginning to wrap up here, saying Girl DM, Geega, and Nemu have been reached out to, turned over art assets if they were in a stage to be turned over as requested. Though we continue production on those projects, our funds have been stated to be returned. All funds are being returned proactively and they will be updated here. Currently, I have turned over everything to the lawyer, including all attempted transactions, all wire discussions, and more. Now it says all funds are being returned, not that they have been returned. The document finishes up talking about some of the convention talk earlier and promising a part 2 to address Auteru, By the Bell, etc. This conclusion possibly coming around the time of this recording or right after. Okay, let's get some reactions. Here we have Bao saying it is insane reading and knowing the amount of omitted information. Blatant lies and victim mentality it took to write all this instead of paying any of us back. And when it was pointed out, Bao, he leaked your song, Bao would say further, very interesting NDA he must have. Hours later also saying, I think the best part of my section is how he screenshotted 1/100th of our DMs and omitted how I routinely had to beg for my money to get any sort of response or proof while dealing with verbal abuse and tantrums, not to mention all the failed wire transfers and frozen tracking links. This document coming out in the morning hours, I would say I can't can't even do anything. Those links weren't from me and everyone is asleep. The captain of the Thigh Seas, Captain Hannah, saying all this effort and typing all this when you could have spent this time cashing out that money you still owe. This entire document is a grade A example of what he did to get around his crimes. Just talking and talking, trying to snake his way around responsibility, never taking accountability. Bao here saying, I can't tell which of there was more of, lies or spelling errors. And he lives in a completely different reality than everyone else, clearly. Bao further conversing with Geega and saying this is torturous and traumatizing, and I would never wish this upon anybody. Bellamy Brooks with Saruei Animation here, stating I'm utterly speechless. I'm not going to share the document. Everyone please be respectful of the VTubers whose NDA content is being leaked through this document. And now weighing in, we do have Nemu, this fish tuber, saying, I step away for a few days from being sick, and it looks like things kinda exploded. I'm tweeting from my bed right now because I can't sleep, but I guess I'll post about the animation stuff. Also, yeah, no, he definitely has never contacted me regarding a refund. It's 3 a.m. and I've got a fever, so I'm gonna keep this super short. Basically, I commissioned them for an animation for the reveal of the witch outfit. Things went great at the start, and the boards and early meetings were good on time and all that. Seemed pretty okay. Then it was basically no info about the actual animation, and the day of the debut fast approached, and I got nothing from them, no actual evidence that anything was being done, besides some super sketch stuff. The debut approached, and a few days before, he said, dang, looks like we won't be able to make it, more or less, and gave me a GIF of basically the sketch progress, and a few key frames, not even colored or anything to show chat, and say, there's something coming, I promise. There was nothing coming. Anyways, afterwards, he was like, well, we will just turn it into a lore video, and we'll put it on some of the studio's money into it as a compensation for the extra time, etc., etc. James never contacted me offering a refund or anything, just radio silence the moment things started getting a little spicy. Yeah, I'd love my money back. Okay, thanks, bye. All right, so after all that time and the money, this was the entirety of what I saw from the project. And these two stills. And surprise, we have Shizukou, the British panda VTuber. Shizukou sharing, this guy felt the need to mention that scammers are around in the animation community. The irony is so hilarious, I'm sorry. James Wicks reaching out to this VTuber with, got a question if you have time, just kind of gathering some info on the situation with art, animation, etc. you VTubers have access to. And clarifying, so we are hearing from people we work with like Giri, Girl DM, Teru, all this name dropping, that commission animations, art, etc. is extremely difficult among VTubers with lots of scams, people that ghost or just have super full schedules. I was wondering if you had also experienced stuff similar or if getting stuff has been pretty easy. So yes, once again, he was approaching random VTubers and asking about scams. We have an update from Saruei. I checked my PayPal account again, and to clarify, $3,800 was the last payment he asked from me. However, I refused and canceled it since we already had sufficient funds to pay my team. I'm unsure why he needed more money when he had enough. Furthermore, I still haven't received my refund. He still owes me $13,000. Additionally, the current amount of money I have spent is $32,250. Okay, let's repeat that. $32,250. The reason for this is that I have already paid the artist animators so they can cover their expenses since they couldn't count on James to do it. Once I receive the $13,000, the total amount reflected in my PayPal screenshot will be $19,250. And here now we have Girl DM, who had not spoken on this at all, taking to Twitter to say, since you decided to include me, even though I've been keeping things private, I was working with James from October 2022 to work on animations and assets for my 3rd anniversary. On April 13th, 2023, I was informed that everything was dropped. My anniversary was planned for May 7th. My initial deadline was the end of 2022, but flexible. You told me you would provide a full refund and that it would be processed over the next few days. No refund. Still haven't been refunded. Last communication was at the end of April, where I was promised a refund in 3 to 5 days. So yeah, there's the grand reason why my anniversary stream stream, quote unquote, was a 2-hour private karaoke while drinking. I had a lot planned. I'm sorry I couldn't deliver on it. Saruei this morning saying I'll be taking the day off because the whole story has been stressing me out so badly for months. Additionally, I don't want this to affect my streams. I promised myself to try remaining calm and prioritize my health from now on. I'm sorry. Vienna is also here, tweeting he mentioned me here as if he did no wrongdoing. His actions directly led to everyone on the team to exit my project and the studio. He doesn't realize that it's not just squared away because I got refunded, like everyone should be. I had to spend more than triple the amount to get new assets to replace them in the tiny amount of time before my deadline, and still did not make the cut. It is impossible to replace a project like that with just a month's time. I was literally just lucky that one of the animators that knew what happened felt pity for me and put together a team that could do it. Even in your quote-unquote best case scenario, you effed me over royally and cost me triple the amount and gave me an aneurysm right before my debut. Saruei responding to Vienna, I remember you called me that day and how stressed you were, Vienna. If I weren't so busy with my own project, I would have definitely helped you. This really was hell. James, I hope that you can try to make this right with the others. Everyone makes mistakes. It's not the end of the world. Don't take more money from creatives. Don't hurt anyone else. I hope for a positive resolution for everyone, and that starts with accountability. Lastly, we have Geega tweeting he has never mentioned a refund to me directly. He has tried to contact me more recently, and every time I told him when I was available for a meeting, he did not ping me or call me at the times asked to. He makes my project sound like a few little stream alerts here, but the ideas on the table were more involved. Several short animations for use on stream that were meant to be with full studio quality aligned with the references we sent back and forth. Things that would require a whole team. He spent way more time talking to me about other people or various ideas than he did putting effort into my project. Sent more messages to me about my poor health and surgery when that time was supposed to be crunch time for the animators. Only ever saw one work in progress of a rough cut. So once again, we are potentially expecting yet another document from this individual, and with clear claims of fraud, embezzlement, and false information, we are potentially even looking at felonies. Felonies that reach across state lines and even over to other countries. That all while we still do not understand the full scope of all of those affected. Being told that not only does it involve VTubers that have come forward, but even full organizations. All right, and moving on. We do have some good news. Turning to Bao, who is turning to stream charts, tweeting out around 31,000 estimated audience turned out for the second episode of the Bikini Bottoms podcast with Shy Lily, including guests Bao and Nemu. Bao also looking forward to CONquest 2023, tweeting out, CONquest friends, please no large gifts for me. Very, very small gifts, art, etc. is okay. I have very limited space due to most of my luggage space being for merch and boothing. This being an event that our own co-host Cody will be attending after prior being a part of Anime North this previous weekend. You can check out his Twitter for far more coverage there. Also regarding the cooking VTuber Giri, we have her here sharing off a plushie teaser labeled with the U2's collectibles. Giri saying something sussy is a cookin'. Speaking of plushies, Obikata Cat potentially promising a makeshift plushie. Sayu here confirming the Sayu plush is gone with 862 sold. That as we have 1,047 sold Neuro-sama plushies from Makeshift, that being the AI VTuber. Showing off this new look over the weekend by way of Annie, saying I had a lot of fun making the new model for Neuro-sama. Wink heart. That's right, she has binary on the eyes and cat ears, all modeled by Otozuki-teru. And also on point, she even has an animated video of her own. That thanks going out to Retronus. Earlier today, we also had confirmation Neuro-sama is swarming off Kai Expo coming up in June. This all after a very, very high-profile merch drop from Uwu Market. This involving stickers, mouse pads, mugs, and so much more. Uwu Market getting questions about Neuro-sama's design, where the intellectual property lies with that, and we'll go ahead and let Uwu Market figure that out. That is, Uwu has loads of other merch drops, including this massive merch drop from Ayumi, including a body pillow cover and 2 forms of very supportive mouse pads. Once again, we've had our own merch drops with Uwa Market. You can check that out with the link below. Further along, we also have Lucius Merriweather, who himself says has been badmouthed by James Wicks, and responding to Neuro-sama's developer saying, "Great job, even if I believe you're assisting in the creation of something that will ultimately kill us all, and it's a very interesting project." That all while Mary this past weekend was also involved in a very interesting project for Unnamed. Mary confirming he had the privilege of writing the lore and also taking part in voice acting, playing the role of a demon dog, and saying, "Thank you, Usan, for trusting me with this." That is, this VTuber has not one, but two looks upon this weekend's debut. Not only dropping on us the reference sheets, but also modeling being done by Iron Vertex's Enma. Further, we had new backgrounds that are very esoteric and high quality, and even a reference sheet for that demon dog. Merriweather responding, saying, "Thank you for the opportunities you gave me, Usan. It was magical to experience. Great job on your debut. Can't wait to see what you do next, my strange soul." The roll video and a brand new cover are available up on YouTube right now. And very quickly, we have Nyatasha Nyanners, this indie VTuber being shown off here, as Good Smile will soon be releasing her pop-up parade figure, that along with Shoto, his Nindoroid, being shown off by Good Smile, all while launching a spring art contest, saying, "This is my small way of giving back to the art community who supported me so much over the years." That's not all. We also have AmaLee promising a 2.0 outfit debut with new lore, new merch, new everything on June 3rd at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, along with showing off this photograph from Anime North this past weekend, saying to whoever's selling Monarch stickers at Anime North, "I love you. First time seeing art of my VTuber at a con. My heart is full." That same display showing off some very familiar VTubers here. That's right, it's myself and two of my co-hosts. And all thanks to Chotobo, digital artist and your neighborhood doodler. And we're not done. We have Milky Queen giving us her impressions of the USA after now debuting her Milky Way outfit. And yes, now with even more things VTubers say, it's our co-host, Hai-Dee. Take it away.
Hi everyone! Starting off, we take a look at the newly formed found family VTuber group, VTuber, as Buff Pup, Eye Candy, Shiabun, and Rose Doodle now have joined forces. The coffee shop crew now take on a new journey together as VTuber, with events like their appearance at A-Kon, an upcoming annual anime convention taking place this weekend from June 2nd to June 4th. VTuber had also launched a new line of merchandise alongside their recent formation, with the goods now available to purchase through their website, working together with Techie Cutie, who has revealed themselves as VTuber's merchandise operations manager, and her team to fulfill all the group's cool merch. The group had also worked together with Makeshift to give us keychains of the four as well, even giving us a plush-only option. But we can all be sure to anticipate more from this coffee shop crew in the future, so be sure to keep an eye out. Next up, we take a look at VTuber agency Idol and their upcoming second EN generation, Endless, with the agency giving us this announcement regarding the release of the Gen's trailer, stating that its release will now be delayed and moved to June 7th. Idol's CEO continues on the matter, understanding the frustration of delays, though assures us that the team's dedication and effort will be worth your patience. So while we wait, we can all get excited for Idol's appearance at this year's upcoming Offkai Expo, as we now check in with Idol EN's Rin Penrose, who announces the first, supposedly, annual Scrunk League beauty pageant, a collaboration with Offkai Expo for a chance to win a full pass to the convention. Though do not fret if you participate and are unable to attend Offkai Expo, as you are able to receive a different prize, with the pass given to the second place winner instead. But if you think you can create a fan favorite Scrunkly that'll be voted on and chosen on stream, then go on and give it a try. And lastly, we have VTuber agency Prism Project, who yesterday had notified us of a YouTube livestream on the official Prism Project channel. But while many were under the impression that this alert was for Gen 5's 1-month anniversary collab, even the talents of Gen 5 themselves were confused as to why the agency came out with a livestream notification a few hours prior to the actual event. That's when many fans and the talents of Prism came together to watch the stream, which consisted of around 20 minutes of Valorant gameplay paired alongside voices brand new to the agency, which many believe to be a glimpse of another Prism Project generation, but this time with male talents. Prism Project later tweets out this message regarding the quote-unquote accidental stream as an internal error, and giving us this image and link redirecting to a Prism Project website titled Prism Polaris, with this same site linked under the accidental livestream as well. Prism Project hopes to give us more teasers over the course of this next week through this site, so we can hope to check in every day to reveal new discoveries about Prism Polaris soon. And that's all from me. Back to you, False.
Thank you so much, Hai-Dee. And also a special announcement. This Saturday, June 3rd, at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, join us on twitch.tv as we celebrate Hai-Dee's birthday. She has quite the gift ready for you. And that is all for this episode. As always, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and feel free to send in your VTuber news to our Discord. We record live on twitch.tv, and we will have more Things VTubers Say for you soon.